Handed from three. Hull comes soaring in again. This uncanny knack. And cashes in.
Is on the upper left.
Game 3 of the Indiana Fever versus Las Vegas Aces series wasn't just a game, it was a crime scene. What should have been a hard-fought playoff battle turned into a shocking display of biased officiating that left fans wondering if the WNBA had already decided who was gonna win. The Indiana Fever didn't just lose, they were robbed in plain sight, and the evidence is impossible to ignore. A series of unbelievable calls ripped the momentum right out of their hands and handed the victory to a team that didn't earn it. This wasn't a loss, it was a heist performed under the bright lights of a national broadcast.
A'ja Wilson sets a screen where she extends her leg out, but of course they call the foul on Lexie Hull for A'ja Wilson's illegal screen. Then A'ja Wilson and Alyssa Smith totally foul Michaela Timpson, but there is no call. Could have took a 1-point lead going into half. Now we're up by 3 and they call a foul that isn't a foul. So we don't get calls when we're getting hit, but the Aces get a call when nobody touches anybody.
But this wasn't an isolated incident. The lopsided officiating had been a dark cloud over the entire series, tilting the scales in Las Vegas's favor from the very beginning. In Game 1, the free throw disparity was already glaring. Every time Indiana played tough, physical defense, the whistle blew, sending the Aces to the line for easy points that set the tone. By Game 2, the pattern was undeniable, with frustrating calls killing Indiana's rhythm and forcing coach Stephanie White to publicly question the league's integrity post-game. This wasn't just bad luck, it was starting to feel like a plan.
It's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. You know, and when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively. And, you know, we didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
Then came the one moment that blew the game wide open and exposed the entire sham. In the third quarter of Game 3, Aaliyah Boston was hit with a questionable foul call on Jackie Young. Stephanie White was signaling frantically for a coach's challenge. The entire bench was on its feet, but the officials simply turned their backs. They refused to even look toward the Fever sideline. Before anyone could process what was happening, Chelsea Gray drained a three-pointer, and a comfortable Indiana lead evaporated into thin air.
A'ja Wilson is 1 for 12 as a foul is called on Boston, and that will be number 2 on Aaliyah Boston.
You saw Indiana picking up full court pressure defensively, and if you're Aaliyah Boston, that's the one spot on the floor you do not want to get a foul call.
And Stephanie White is trying to challenge it and did not call the timeout in time. Gray in the...
What makes this moment so infuriating isn't just the missed call, it was the blatant disregard for the rules of the game. A coach's challenge is a fundamental part of modern basketball, a tool designed to correct the very errors these officials were making. For them to willfully ignore a legitimate request for review isn't incompetence, it's a statement. It's a declaration that the rules don't apply to everyone equally. The crowd went from roaring with energy to gasping in disbelief. The message was clear. No matter how hard Indiana played, the game would be decided by a different set of standards.
2-minute recap from last night. So A'ja Wilson pushes Howard in the back. Howard pushes her in the back. It's a foul on Howard. Look at this. Aaliyah Boston gets totally fouled by Alyssa Smith. Like, it's obvious, but no call. And then A'ja Wilson gets the call for not half as much. And then Alyssa Smith gets the call for not even getting touched. Here's a replay just to prove it to you. Yep, didn't get touched.
The energy in Gainbridge Fieldhouse vanished in an instant, replaced by a chorus of boos and screams of disbelief. Within minutes, clips of the ignored challenge went viral, with fans and analysts breaking down how a single arrogant refusal to do their job fundamentally altered the outcome of a playoff game. Those same videos exposed a pattern of flops and uncalled elbows from the Aces, making it painfully clear that the officials weren't just making mistakes, they were actively ignoring fouls on one side of the court. The internet became a jury, and the verdict was unanimous. The game was rigged.
Offensive foul, practically a football check. and the Aces score. So now the Aces cut it to 2, and then A'ja Wilson sets an illegal screen, and they tied things up. And then Lexie Hull gets called for a foul for doing nothing when they just had 2 illegal screens they didn't call. All right, so this is fair. Same thing happens on the other side, but they don't call a foul for Kelsey Mitchell. So Leah Boston gets called for this foul for getting her arm grabbed, but Stephanie White can't challenge. They won't let her. That's the second time this game they didn't let her have her challenge. And then A'ja Wilson starts acting like a big.
It quickly became clear there were 2 sets of rules on the court that night, one for the Las Vegas Aces and another for the Indiana Fever. A'ja Wilson was allowed to throw her shoulders and elbows into defenders with no consequences, while any bit of contact from an Indiana player was treated like a federal crime. Defenders were tossed onto the court without calls, and flailing arms suddenly became defense. As long as you wore a Vegas jersey, the game's momentum wasn't built on talent or strategy. It was manufactured by referees who held their whistles like weapons, ready to strike down any hope the Fever had.
Boston has the mismatch on Lloyd. Help comes. Kick out. Hull will fire. And hit from 3. Last 2 positions inside from Indiana. Smith tied up by Hull.
This kind of one-sided officiating isn't just about points on the board, it's psychological warfare. When players realize they can't play their normal aggressive style of defense without being penalized, they start to hesitate. They second-guess every move, pulling back on challenges and giving up easy lanes to the basket. That hesitation is deadly in a playoff game. The frustration builds, leading to sloppy fouls and unforced errors, creating a vicious cycle that slowly breaks a team's spirit. The Fever were forced to fight 2 opponents, the Aces and the referee's bias.
On the left side of the floor, just a clear out, letting Jackie Young go to work.
Jackie Young with 17 points. Boston to the corner. Hull, catch, fire, and hit. Correct call. Evans dishes. Ray whips a pass inside. What a denial from Lexie Hull.
The Hull able to save the play.
12-point game, a little under 2.5 to go. Hull hits Indiana's first.
But while the referees were busy handing the game to Vegas, one player decided to take it back. Lexie Hull wasn't even supposed to be a factor in this game. After aggravating a back injury, she was listed as questionable and looked stiff even in warm-up. Everyone assumed she'd play a few minutes at most, just to give her teammates a breather. Instead, she put the team on her back and delivered a performance that will be remembered long after the controversy fades.
The floor that she wants, doesn't it?
It does. Mitchell, connect. Here's Mitchell. Mitchell, one more. You bet.
Lexie Hull has always been a fighter, an underrated grinder who does the dirty work that doesn't always show up on a stat sheet. But this was different. This wasn't just about playing hard, it was about playing through crippling pain on the biggest stage. Fans could see the discomfort etched on her face with every sprint and every jump, yet she refused to back down. This performance wasn't an anomaly, it was the ultimate expression of who she is as a player. Pure grit, pure heart, and a refusal to quit no matter the odds.
And then here we go. She gets a foul called with a 3-point game for, I don't know why they called that foul, but it's the 3rd quarter and they want them to win. So here we go. Ace is up by 3. They call another foul for A'ja Wilson that isn't a foul. All right, so then they call another foul on the Fever that isn't a foul. And then to end the game after it's out of control because the Fever had a 6-point lead, but they kept calling fouls, another foul for A'ja Wilson that's not a foul. Ball don't lie, A'ja missed 11 shots in a row during this game.
Playing through that visible pain, Hull put up numbers that belong to a healthy superstar. She dropped a playoff career-high 16 points, grabbed 10 rebounds, dished out 4 assists, and added 2 blocks and a steal. She shot an efficient 6 for 10 from the field, hitting 3 massive 3-pointers that tied a franchise playoff record. Every time it felt like the officiating was about to break the Fever spirit, Hull would dive for a loose ball or wrestle a rebound away from a taller player, refusing to let her team die.
Working behind Boston. Boston was open. Great take, and Boston lays it in.
Her performance was more than just stats, it was a message. Fever fans saw a player leaving everything on the floor, putting her body on the line because her team needed a hero. She was the picture of grit and determination, fighting not just the Aces but the referees too, and that's what makes the results so damn hard to swallow. On the same night, Lexie Hull gave Indiana her best playoff game ever. Her heroic effort was buried under a mountain of controversy, overshadowed by the very forces she was fighting against.
I thought she got hit a lot tonight. To shoot one free throw in 38 minutes. I know they told me not to say anything, but I can't.
And on the other side of the court, the league's supposed MVP was having a complete meltdown. A'ja Wilson, the face of the league, finished the night with a pathetic 6 for 20 shooting performance. After hitting a three-pointer early, she went ice cold, finishing with just 13 points on 20 shots. This wasn't just an off night. Aaliyah Boston was in her head, hounding her every possession, denying easy space, and forcing her into awkward contested fadeaways. Boston completely neutralized her impact on the game.
Sims, voice short. Look at Hull coming screaming in for the rebound. Boston trying to body Wilson and does. Sims back to Boston, going back to work and dropping it in. An aggressive and effective.
So how did a team with a ghost for a superstar still win? The answer is simple: the system saved them. While Wilson was clinking shot after shot, her teammates and the referees bailed her out. Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray hit timely shots, but their biggest help came from the whistles that kept Indiana at bay and stopped any chance of a comeback. The Aces didn't need their star to play like one because everything else kept breaking their way thanks to the officiating.
Boston back to Hull, sets herself up. Mitchell is free, laying it in. Been a while since Mitchell has gotten a shot attempt. Mitchell will get.
What makes it all worse is the way the story was told afterward. Instead of highlighting the blatant officiating errors, or giving Aaliyah Boston credit for locking down an MVP, the media narrative quickly shifted. Wilson's box score was padded with talk of her all-around impact, while the Aces were praised for their championship depth. The reason their superstar was so ineffective was conveniently swept under the rug. It was a classic case of the sports media protecting the league's favored stars and storylines, even when the truth was staring them in the face.
On this first half, Young attacking and denied. Timpson on the block. Hull needs some help. Dump it in Boston. Find the cutter. Timpson lays it in.
But the most stunning part came after the game, when Aces coach Becky Hammon had the audacity to complain that Wilson wasn't getting enough calls, pointing to her single free throw attempt. After 3 games of favorable officiating where her team lived at the foul line, the coach of the reigning champions was already trying to lobby for more help in Game 4. It was the ultimate insult, a hypocritical plea that told you everything you need to know about how comfortable the Aces have become with their privileged treatment. Now, all eyes turn back to Gainbridge Fieldhouse, where the Fever have one final chance to rewrite this poisoned narrative. This isn't just a home court, it's a fortress of noise. 17,000 Indiana fans are expected to pack the building, and they won't be quiet. They saw the robbery in Game 3, and they will make every single possession a living nightmare for Las Vegas. That wall of sound becomes a 6th player on the court, fueling the Fever and rattling opponents who aren't used to that kind of hostile energy. Even Hammond admitted her team doesn't enjoy playing there. The Fever didn't just lose Game 3, they were robbed in plain sight. They outplayed, out-hustled, and out-defended the Aces' biggest star, only to have the game stolen by the referees. Game 4 is no longer just about survival, it's about revenge. It's a chance to expose how hollow those Aces victories look when the whistles don't bail them out. With Lexie Hull's incredible heart, Aaliyah Boston's lockdown defense, and a furious home crowd, Indiana has a chance to send a message to the entire league. This fight isn't over, it's just getting louder.